Hello everyone, this is Dr. Rekha, resource person for Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education. We are looking at management decision making tools. We have covered 2 lessons in module 1, chapter 1. In the last 2 sessions we have covered introduction to research, role of statistics in management decisions, then types of research. And in the last session we have looked at research process, the steps in research process, and in research process we have looked at problem discovery and definition, literature review, then identifying the research gaps and how do we formulate research hypothesis, right. In today's session we will be covering on research design, components of research design, and we will explain that, we will understand that using a caselet. Okay. By the end of this session we will be able to explain research design and you will be able to choose appropriate research design, right. So first let us look into the definition of research design. A research design is a framework or blueprint for conducting the marketing research project. It details the procedures necessary for obtaining the information needed to structure or solve marketing research problems or any kind of problems that an organization face or any kind of problem a researcher would like to study, right. So let us look into components of research design. What are some of the components of research design? First is define the information needed. Define what is that information we need to collect or we need to study. In previous session we have looked at an example of my friend who wanted to study on the willingness of tea stall owners to replace their old tea making machine which uses milk powder with the new tea making machine which uses milk. So in order to do that study, what is that information that in order to understand that, or in order to get an idea about whether they will be willing to replace with the new machinery, what is that information that he would require? We have to define that, define the information needed. Then based on the information that is required, then we will go on in designing whether we have to carry out an exploratory, descriptive or causal phases of the research. We will look into detail in each of these types, exploratory, descriptive and a causal phases in a short while from now. Then specify the measurement and scaling procedures. So if we want to collect that information, if we are going to carry out exploratory research or descriptive or causal phases research, what type of measurement do we have to use? Whether we have to use a in-depth interview, or can we collect the information using questionnaire method, or can we collect the information using focused group discussions, right. So we need to if we define the information that is required, then we will be able to design whether we have to go about doing exploratory, descriptive or causal phases. Based on the type of design that we are going to choose, we will be able to specify the measurement and the scaling procedures for carrying out the study. Then based on the measurement and scaling method that we choose, we will be constructing a questionnaire or an appropriate form for data collection, and then we can specify the sampling process and the sample size, right. So we will also look into in detail about the sampling methods and process in our next chapter, chapter 2. Here we will look at it briefly in this session, and then develop a plan of data analysis. So these are the components of research design. So as we have seen that there is a classification of research design, whether the researcher would design what type of study that one should carry out based on the information that he or she is trying to collect, right, trying to study. So the first classification is exploratory research. In this type of research, the researcher is unaware of the problem. Researcher doesn't know what is the problem. So for example, our sales are declining and we don't know why. Our production in farming or farm production is declining, so we don't know why. So we don't know why there is a decline in the sales or decline in the production rate. We are unaware of the problem. So at that time we will be carrying out exploratory research. I will tell you one more example that I have done my study, research study in mentoring relationships in Indian context. There were no studies, there were no earlier studies that have carried out what do mentors learn in Indian context. There are a lot of studies that have carried out in Western countries where they have studied what do mentees learn, how do mentees benefit by being in the mentoring relationship, but what do mentors learn was not yet studied. So I chose this problem, what do mentors learn in Indian context, but there were no studies that I can refer to and to develop a scale for my study. So I started with exploratory research. So I interacted with the mentors who have an experience of being in the mentoring relationship. So I chose around 15 mentors who have been in this mentoring relationship for a year and carried out in-depth study followed by a questionnaire, I have developed a questionnaire and collected information to understand, to explore what do mentors learn in Indian context, right. So there is no information available prior to this. So I wanted to explore how exactly it happens in Indian context. So that time we will go ahead with the exploratory research. The next type of research is descriptive research, wherein the researcher is aware of the problem. The researcher is aware that the sales are for the organization is declining because of the competitors' products, right. So they are aware of the problem, but they wanted to understand, they wanted to study the status quo. That's when the descriptive research will be carried out. So what kind of people are buying our products, who buys our competitors' products? If we study that, then we will be able to understand further, we will be able to get more information further. So that is when the researchers would carry out the descriptive research, right. The third classification is causal research. This is usually carried out to study, this is also called as cause and effect research, where the problem is clearly defined, right. The problem is clearly defined that the sales for our products are declining because of our competitors' products. But will buyers purchase more of our products in a new package? So if we introduce a new feature into our existing product, will buyers purchase more of our products? So they will go on for doing a pilot testing. So pilot testing is usually a causal effect research to understand if we introduce a new product in the market, will buyers will be attracted towards our new product? Will there be an increase in the sales of the product? Will buyers accept our new product? Right, that is when the causal research is carried out. Right, we will look into in depth on each of these types of research. Exploratory research design, how can we carry out this exploratory research design? What are some of the methodologies that are available to collect more information about the problem that is unaware, right. So there are basically two methods through which we can collect the data using this exploratory research design, right. One is primary research and secondary research. In primary research methods, we have again several other methods through which we can collect the data. The first one is survey all polls, wherein the researcher will prepare a questionnaire to understand the problem better, more. So what do mentors learn through this mentoring relationship is in Indian context is not aware. So we will prepare a questionnaire with reference to that and try to collect the information from the mentors. We will prepare questions related to what do mentors learn by being in the mentoring relationship, and collect through the questionnaire, collect information through the questionnaire. The second is interviews, in-depth interviews with the mentors, or in-depth interviews with the farmers who have introduced this new technology in the farming, who wanted to understand why in spite of introduction of this technology, why there is a decline in production in their farms, right. So, in-depth interviews will be carried out with the farmers, with the groups who would be from whom we will be getting information from. So, we can conduct in-depth interviews to collect more information about the problem which is unaware. And focus groups discussion are where the discussion is facilitated by the researcher on a specific topic, on a specific problem. What do mentors learn through this mentoring relationship? So, we will have a group of mentors come together, and the researcher will act as a facilitator by posing this question, and through this discussion the researcher will be able to collect information on what do mentors learn in Indian context, right. The other one is observation. So, observation is by observing certain activities we will be able to learn. So, I have carried out during this exploratory research design in my study, I have used this observation method, wherein there was this NGO called Bhumi in Hyderabad, where they have a formal mentoring program, where they pair the mentors who are graduates or working professionals with the students who are pursuing 9th or 10th standard from the underprivileged background. So, they have this formal mentoring program for mentoring these students from the underprivileged, or guiding them on personal as well as professional guidance. They will be providing both personal as well as professional guidance to these students. So, after 10th, if the student want to become an engineer, or want to pursue medicine, or want to become a chartered accountant. So, what are the steps, or what is the next step? So, which courses they have to take in +1 and +2, and which are the colleges that offer engineering courses or medicine or chartered accountancy, how can they go about it, in order to it is not just the guidance, and also they would have to develop personally as well. So, the mentors will provide personal guidance to them. So, they meet once in a week through this program. Every Sunday they will meet for an hour with the students. So, I observed the whole procedure, and then at the end of this interaction, I explore information. I have an interaction with these mentors to understand how they learn through this mentoring relationship. First, observe and learn how the procedure is carried out, and also learn how they carry out this interactions, and what are some of the things that they do, and if we observe them over a period of time, we will also be able to observe the changes in the mentors that they have gone through, that they have, right. So, through observation also we will be able to collect more information, right. So, the other method through which we can collect information is secondary research methods. You can do online research in websites, blogs, or organizational. There are some, if we are looking at the farmers production, if the study is about farmers, then we can look at the Ministry of Rural Development, right. So, like that. So, we can even search websites to get the information, or do literature survey through books, journals, articles, newspaper, right. We will be able to collect information through literature survey as well, and case study research. Through that also we will be able to collect the information. So, this is a case actually. mentoring program in an NGO, formal mentoring program in an NGO, that can be studied as a case. So there is this organization which runs formal mentoring program where wherein they will pair these mentors and mentees, and what do these mentors and mentees do through this interaction, and how do mentors learn. This can be projected as a case and also can be studied, right. So through that also we will be able to collect more information, right. So now the causal research design. So this causal research design, as we have also seen, that it is a study of cause and effect. So let us see this in little bit detail about causal research design. So let's say we wanted to understand, we wanted to do a study on causal study of factors leading to malnutrition of children in villages, right. So that's the study, and we will be so what are the basic causes relating to it, and what are the underlying causes and immediate causes. So these three things we have to identify: basic causes which leads to causal study, underlying causes and immediate causes. The basic causes could be socio-economic characteristics of the village, environment, health service, feeding care practices that exist in the village, then biological. So through this is the cause, this is the causal study of factors leading to malnutrition. So we wanted to study on how it has an effect on the people in villages. So for that we need to identify these three types of causes, because through which we'll be able to understand how it is having an effect on the health of the villagers in a particular village. So this can also be studied using a fishbone diagram. So let us take the example of a customer's loyalty towards a product. What are the causal factors that will have an effect on the customer's loyalty towards a product. So we can identify this using this fishbone diagram. It could be image, trust, quality or satisfaction, right. So we will understand little more in depth on exploratory, descriptive and causal research using a caselet, using a People's Bank caselet. Okay. So the context, the story of this People's Bank goes like this. Marketing research at People's Bank in Salauj in MP, Madhya Pradesh, is typical in that it is used to measure consumer awareness of products, monitor their satisfaction and attitudes associated with the product, track product usage and diagnose problems as they occur. So that is what the marketing research team at People's Bank do. It is perceived that the People's Bank is running on loss for some of their products, for some of their existing products. Often it is advantageous to offer special financial packages to specific group of customers. In this case, a financial package is being designed for farmers to enable them to utilize the loans for purchasing modern equipments for their farms. So for that, the marketing research team at People's Bank have formulated the marketing research team at People's Bank have taken series of steps for doing this study, right. So they identified that some of their products are running on loss. So they wanted to study why there is a loss for some of their products. So as a first step, a task force was created to better define the market parameters to include all the needs of all the branches of People's Bank. And then a final decision was made to include all farmers with an acre of cultivable agricultural land, right. So first they have decided whom they have to study on, who are their target population to study, to carry out this study. Then the exploratory research in the form of secondary data analysis of the farmers with lands was then performed, and a study of competitive products was also conducted. So at People's Bank, the marketing research team identified that some of their products, People's Bank products are running on loss, they were unaware of the problem why there is a loss. So as a first step, they started with the exploratory research. They are exploring why there is a loss for some of their products. The exploratory qualitative research involving focus groups was also carried out in order to determine the needs and desires of the farmers and the level of satisfaction with the current products. And the next stage of research was brainstorming. This involved the formation of many different financial packages aimed at the target market. In this case, a total of 10 ideas were generated. Right. So now through this exploratory research phase, they identified that there are competitive products which is creating loss for them. Right. So in the next stage, they have carried out brainstorming with the focused group, where brainstorming with the people who are farmers, who have 1 acre of cultivable land and who have used their existing products. Right. So the total of 10 ideas were generated through this brainstorming session. So is there an available description or a specific target market for the proposed product? Does the research conducted so far indicate a potential match for target market needs, and is the idea perceived to have appealed to this market? Is there a feasible outline of the tactics and strategies for implementing the program? So through this brainstorming session, they were trying to identify answers for these questions. Right? Is there a feasible outline of the tactics and strategies for implementing the program? Have the financial impact and cost of the program been thoroughly evaluated and determined to be in line with company practices? So in this study, only one idea generated from the brainstorming session that made it past all the listed hurdles and on to step 5. So through this brainstorming session, using these questions, they were trying to identify answers for the problem that they have identified. Right. From this they identified an idea, they got an idea, and then they moved on to the step 5. Step 5 is a creative work plan was then generated. This plan was to emphasize the competitive advantage of the proposed product as well as better delineate the specific features of the product. Right. So first the researchers were unaware why there were losses for some of the products that the bank is offering. So they explored it using a focused group discussion with the farmers. Then they identified that there exists a competitive products. The people were preferring to go with their competitors' products. That's why for some of their products they are facing losses. But now they wanted to identify which product if they introduce would be more, which features to be added to their existing products so that the demand for their products would increase. So that they have done it through a descriptive research using brainstorming session, wherein the facilitator posed questions to the group in identifying or gathering information, and from that they identified that they have to you add in unique features to their existing product so that the demand for their new product would increase. Right. So the 6th step is the previous research was now followed up with the surveys of people in the target market range. The survey showed that the list of special features was too long and it was decided to drop the features more commonly offered by competitors. So through this brainstorming session, they were able to identify what new features can be added to their existing products so that the demand for the products can be increased. But further research with the survey, they were able to identify that there were some features which were common with their competitors' products, which has to be dropped by. So in order to make their product unique. Right. So finally, the product was test marketed in 6 of the People's Bank branches within the target market. So test marketing is a form of causal research. Right. So they wanted to test before introducing this product across the country. They wanted to test whether the new product, if it is introduced in the market, will be attracted by the customers? Will it be accepted by the farmers? Will it be adapted by the new farmers? So for that, usually the organizations carry out pilot testing before introducing the new product across the country. So this is the causal research that the marketing research team at People's Bank have carried out. Right? Given successful test marketing results, the product is introduced nationally. So these pilot testing results showed good results, and the customers were preferring to buy the new product introduced by the People's Bank, and then because of this result, the People's Bank introduced the product across the country. So we have looked at the research design, the components of research design, and the classification of research design. We have looked at exploratory research, descriptive research, and causal effect research. Exploratory research, wherein the researcher is unaware of the problem. Descriptive research will be carried out when the researcher is aware of the problem but wanted to gather more information on the problem. The causal effect research is it is done to understand what are the causes for the effect of the problem. So in order to study why there is a why the customers, will the customers be willing to purchase new products. So in order to study that, we will carry out the pilot testing. So that is causal effect research. So in the next session, we will look at sampling design, the methods of data collection, data processing and analysis. Thank you.